And so another housekeeping matter, most of you know this, but now that we're streaming on live stream, so some people are here in our Zoom room together, and of course some people are just watching, observing the program on our YouTube channel through live stream. So I need to spotlight myself, but you can always choose the gallery view in your upper right if you prefer that. And it's always so great to be able to gather. And for those who've been along for a while, know that we've taken up the study of the 10 Paramis, these 10 beautiful qualities of the heart: generosity, the integrity of moral sensitivity, that's the second. Renunciation, I'll talk about that today. Wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, resolve, loving kindness, and equanimity. It's interesting just to notice what is the effect of hearing that. For some of us, it might be the sense of, oh, there's goodness. How beautiful is that? And for others, the immediate response may be, I'm not good enough. That's not me. I'm bad. I wish I were good, or something like that. It's always interesting, when we're engaged in our spiritual practice and spiritual study, what kind of reaction arises in our heart around it. We see a lot of our programming, basically, which is why we've been, for the last number of weeks, we've been practicing this reflection that we call in early Buddhism, sharing the merit, or some people call it sharing the blessings of my life. And the work in that reflection is to, like you can do right now, we'll do it together. Of course, I'll be saying it out loud, but you just do it in your own way, in a way that actually works for you. So you can either repeat the words I'm saying out loud or adapt and adjust the phrases so they really hit home for you in your heart. But the work, the first task, is to open our mind, open our heart, that there is goodness in my life in both profound and, really wonderful ways, but also in very ordinary ways, like even today, moments of real patience, moments of kindness, moments of resoluteness, moments of clarity, moments of letting go of whatever needed to be let go of, moments of accessing energy to do what needed to be done, moments of balance and generosity, a deep, resonant valuing of not harming, not adding more stress, more suffering in my life and others' lives. There is goodness in this life. Even the fact that we're gathering here like this now, this is a good thing to just have shown up to this program this morning. And the question is, can we connect with that simple, ordinary truth? Yeah, this is a good thing to be here. It feels good. There is goodness in this life, today, yesterday, all the way through this life. There's this current of goodness, of wisdom and compassion. And what the Buddha invites us to do when we recognize this goodness is to give it away. So whatever goodness there is in my life, past and present, ordinary or extraordinary, whatever goodness there is, I happily give it away. I intend that the blessings of my life support the well-being, the happiness of my parents, even if they've already passed away. May the goodness in my life, the blessings of my life, be a cause for well-being, for happiness, for safety, for all my loved ones, near and far. May the goodness of my life be a cause for safety and happiness for all beings without exception. We don't have to figure this out, but in some way may my effort to align with what is good and wholesome be a real support for all beings, past, present, and future. May this be so. So that's just an example of how you might pick up this reflection. Just needs a minute or two. You could do it the first thing in the morning, or the last thing before you go to bed, or at the beginning or the end of your meditation time at home. But I really encourage you to experiment with it so it becomes your own thing. You're not just repeating a particular formula that, we have that in our chant book, sort of a traditional recitation of it. But I find it better to do it free form when you do it. Or if you like that traditional recitation, then after or before you do the traditional version, just do your own riff on what it means right now in your heart. Take a moment, 10 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, something like that. So let's settle into our meditation time now. And like we did last Sunday, we'll do some of the 16 steps of Anapanasati, the Buddhist instructions for mindfulness of breathing in and out, which is really encompasses all of the meditative instructions. So the first invitation the Buddha gives us is to establish mindful presence to the fore, right here, right now, which simply means we're recognizing that it's like this now. And it's helpful to be aware of the sitting body, the breathing body. And instead of sensing that we have to manage the breathing in and the breathing out, it can be more simple than that. Just an awareness that breathing in is happening when it's happening, and tracking, knowing the breathing out when that's happening. So it's simply keeping the breath in mind, the physicality of the breath in mind. It's the practice of not forgetting this natural process of breathing in and breathing out. It's a really useful time to realize what it is to be committed, to be resolved, but without getting tight about it. So we're resolved to keep this ordinary process of breathing in and breathing out, to keep it in mind, to be aware that it feels like this now. From the beginning of the in-breath to the end, from the beginning of each out-breath to the end. And in doing that, the heart needs to drop all of its other concerns for a while. So the heart puts everything else down so it can, in a sense, say yes. Breathing in is like this. Yes. Breathing out is like this. And be very interested in the continuity of awareness. so that that relaxed attention to the breathing process becomes seamless or unbroken. Be willing to begin again and again. Remind the heart and body to relax. It's a very particular effort to remember the physicality of breathing in, the physicality of breathing out. So in a way, we're training the heart, the mind that knows, to be really simple. And just to know this one aspect of the present moment. Breathing in feels like this, like this, like this. Breathing out feels like this, like this, like this. Tracking this ordinary process of breathing in and out. It's a profound renunciation to let go of whatever else the mind might be thinking about or doing. In a relaxed way, really challenge yourself to just be with the ordinary process of breathing in and breathing out. And learning what it is to persist, to begin again and again when the mind gets distracted. And all those little moments of letting go of distraction and starting again, we learn a lot about what it is to let go of the tendency to think or to worry or plan or whatever, and to return to something simple, ordinary, being aware of breathing in, being intimate with breathing out, just as it is. And when there's enough steadiness and enough continuity of mindful awareness, then the Buddha invites us to notice this inclusive quality about the present moment. So as we're breathing in, feeling the breath, notice how naturally the whole body, the sensations of the whole body are right here and now in the present moment. And same as we breathe out, feeling the breath going out, aware of the whole body just as it is. Breathing in, experiencing the whole body, how natural it is to have this inclusive awareness. Breathing out, experiencing the whole body. And notice how this inclusive awareness of the whole body as you breathe in and out has a calming, settling effect on the body. It's a healing of the mind and body. So the Buddha instructs us while breathing in, train yourself to notice that calming effect spreading and deepening through the body. While breathing out, train yourself to notice the deepening and spreading of calm in the body. So we're learning to keep calm in mind. So we're choosing to not be interested in what's in the way of calm. See if you can simply notice whatever calm there is and appreciating it, and notice by keeping it in mind, the calm deepens and spreads through the body simply by recognizing it and appreciating it as wholesome. So, for example, you might need to start with a particular place in the body that does feel settled and calm. Breathing in, noticing that calm. Breathing out, noticing that calm. Some people even use a phrase, so as they're breathing in, they might repeat silently in the mind, calming the body. And then as they breathe out, repeat the same phrase, calming the body. But it's just a gentle reminder, not a demand.
Wait, sweet.
As the body feels more settled, more calm, the Buddha invites us, while breathing in, while breathing out, to train ourselves to recognize this more subtle quality of joy, this lightness of heart or buoyancy of the heart, this bright interest, like a bright, beautiful smile in the heart that has the energy to show up with interest, bright interest, and the sense that everything is alive, internally, externally. Everything is alive with activity, the activity of life. So again, breathing in, experiencing joy. Breathing out, experiencing joy. So it's a very beautiful training. Can we learn to keep joy in mind, even if it's faint or not that obvious? Just keeping it in mind through the duration of the in-breath, through the duration of each out-breath. And again, in a non-demanding way, you can use a meditation word or phrase, like simply repeating the word joy as you breathe in, or experiencing joy as you breathe in and breathe out. Keep it simple and not demanding, but really supporting our interest. And we allow the joy to naturally mature into more resonant ease of the heart, contentedness. And the same practice, breathing in, doing this training where we're keeping the ease of the heart. Sukha is the Pali word, keeping the ease of the heart in mind. Breathing out, keeping this ease of heart, this contentment in mind. A more resonant inner happiness, inner relaxation of the heart. And we respect this quality, even if it's faint. We respect it enough to keep it in mind while we breathe in, each time while we breathe out. And to whatever degree ease is recognized, then it shifts the mind's relationship to mental activity. It's easier to recognize thought and emotion and perception and feeling in a more spacious, dispassionate way. And this tends to quiet the thinking mind down, quiet the mental activity. So the next two instructions are just about recognizing mental activity from this in this dispassionate or spacious way, not feeling so pushed around or identified with thought, and how that tends to quiet the thinking mind down. We're not trying to quiet the thinking mind down. We're just relating to thoughts from this point of view of ease, the spacious, dispassionate ease. And that's what naturally leads to the mental activity quieting down. So just noticing that for a few minutes as best you can. noticing the relative absence of thought. And with the ninth instruction from the Buddha, one trains oneself while breathing in to recognize the space of the present moment here, the space of the knowing mind. Not so much what's being known, but just the space of knowing, the space of the present moment itself, as we're breathing in and as we're breathing out. So the trick here is to be willing to recognize something that's subtle, but here and now, the space of the moment. And the key is it's always here and now, always fresh. Otherwise, it becomes a concept, a thought. So, can we, while breathing in, keep this very alive space of the present moment in mind? And then again, as we breathe out, and learn to really appreciate the purity, the beauty, in a sense, of that. Appreciate the stillness and peacefulness of this aspect of the mind. And really learn to abide here. And now for the last minute or two, sitting relatively still. You can have the eyes open or closed. And we're just going to contemplate the wholesome qualities of the heart and mind now. I'll just remind us of the 10 Paramis, like the quality of generosity as opposed to stinginess of the heart, and the quality of moral sensitivity, just this integrity around not harming. And the valuing of letting go, renunciation, the wisdom, not being fixed, not having fixed view, a deep valuing of truthfulness, interested with humility and the way it is, the power of patience and resoluteness, and a great embrace of kindness and balance, and any other qualities, wholesome qualities that might be recognizable now, here and now. Just appreciating the goodness of this heart. And may this goodness be a cause for the deepest healing and awakening all around. No one left out. Great, so adjust your body. So nice to be here with everyone. I know many of you, but if you're new, my name's Mark Nunberg, and I'm the guiding teacher at Common Ground Meditation Center here in Minneapolis. And I am in the office today, and now we've started letting people come into the meditation hall to practice together during the Sunday morning program. So for those who are local, feel free to come in, and instead of watching it on your computer screen, you can do it on a big screen with other folks, and we get a chance to connect before and after the program. So, and then in another week, not next Sunday, but I think it's the following Sunday, which must be the 11th, we're going to start a Sunday evening program that will be like this, but just for in-person people, just a repeat of the Sunday morning program. And I'll teach that in front of the group. And that will begin on Sunday evening at 7 p.m., the 11th of July. And of course, many other things coming up. The Buddhist Studies begins on Monday, tomorrow. That will be live streamed. But starting the following Monday, I think it's a 7-week Buddhist Studies course on mindfulness of the mind, one of the foundations of mindfulness that the Buddha taught. But starting the second week, which I guess will be the 5th of July, we'll have both an in-person option and the live stream option. And really hoping I will master this hybrid formulation where I'm in front of a group, but also responsive to the people online. And we'll be doing that also with the half-day retreat in July, which I think is the 10th in the afternoon, July 10th, 1 to 5 p.m., both open for in-person, people to come to the meditation hall with me, and for people to join in online. So July will be an experiment in a number of ways, including on July 24th, when Fricke, the other co-founder of Common Ground and also my wonderful partner, she and I will be leading a day-long retreat out at our retreat property, Common Ground's retreat property, 83 miles out of town. We'll try to coordinate carpooling, and we'll also have a hybrid or an online option. So wherever you live, if you want to join in for that day-long retreat on Saturday, the 24th of July, keep that in mind, either in person, driving out to Prairie Farm. For a lot of you, that means seeing it for the first time, and also practicing at your own home using the Zoom link that we'll provide. And finally, as long as I'm doing announcements, I'll just mention that we're continuing with the Tea and Dharma. That's on Tuesday mornings in person. The rest of the practice check-ins will continue online, like Sunday afternoon, Wynn and I do it at 4:30. Tuesday at 12 noon, Stacy McClendon and I do it at 12 noon. Shelley does it at 9, although Shelley will be out of town practicing on retreat and teaching for the next about 5 weeks. But I believe that's going to continue in some fashion. You can check the calendar for that. And Ramesh does 2 Saturdays at 10:30, Ramesh Sairam. But there's an in-person community practice check-in, and we call it Tea and Dharma. It's Tuesday mornings, 8 to 9. You can come a little early and sit, and then join in for that wonderful community conversation. Gabe Keller Flores will lead this Tuesday, as I'll be up north, taking a few days vacation, and then I'll be doing the rest of the Tuesdays in July. Good, so that covers the announcements. And now we get to move forward with our study of the 10 paramis, right? Generosity, moral sensitivity, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, resoluteness, loving kindness, and equanimity. And don't get so tight about this particular way of coming up with 10 qualities, because the important thing is to recognize beautiful, wholesome qualities, to really get it. This is a beautiful quality, whether you're seeing it in another person in any moment, or you're seeing it in yourself, in yourselves. And you want to be really competent or fluent in recognizing the beautiful. And you know how it is, we human beings, we tend to initially get good at recognizing the unbeautiful, the unwholesome, right? Like if we picked any one of our good friends, we'd probably be much better at pointing out their faults than, now, not, this isn't true for all of you. I'm just mostly speaking to myself. I'd be much better at pointing out the faults of my friends than I would the wholesome qualities. I mean, I could do it so I wouldn't embarrass myself, but my conviction around their faults would be much clearer and stronger than the clarity around their beautiful qualities. Now, why is that? Well, we simply haven't practiced. And it really skews our whole existence, this, let's just call it a lack of interest in what is truly beautiful. And the really crazy thing is, it's really pleasant to notice what's beautiful. It feels good. And it's healing on all kinds of levels. So I'm really appreciating our deep study of the 10 paramis. In later Buddhist traditions, they're usually referred to as the paramitas, and they have a different number. I think there's 7 in like the Mahayana tradition of Buddhism. But like I said, it's just important. And again, don't feel weighed down by having to somehow master all 10 of them. Just get interested in whatever you're already interested in and do the deep dive. Keep that wholesome quality in mind all day long. And you'll start finding the others showing up as you get more intimate, more aware of the one you're naturally interested in. Maybe you're interested in it because you think it doesn't really exist in your kind of character or personality. Or maybe you're interested in it because you already see it as a kind of strength in your personality. It doesn't matter why you're interested in it. You might as well start with what you're interested in because you're interested in it. And the way that these beautiful qualities are developed, as I mentioned in the guided sit, is by keeping them in mind. Just like it works with the Buddha's 16 steps in his comprehensive set of meditation instructions that we went through maybe 2/3 of this morning. We keep joy in mind. It's not easy to keep joy in mind. We want to notice the ache in the back or the restlessness or wondering when the sit is going to be over. But we're being asked, we're being invited through just that short interval of time while we're breathing in, can I keep joy that's actually present here in the body, heart, and mind? Can I keep it in mind, however faint it is? And what effect is there when I do keep it in mind? Then for that duration of the exhalation. So it's not a high bar. How long is an in-breath or an out-breath? 5 to 10 seconds. I think we can do our best in a relaxed way to stay interested in these wholesome, beautiful qualities. And then on to ease, and then on to that spaciousness of dispassion. That ease allows for us. When we have a lot of contentment, we don't feel so pushed around by our mental activity, right? So there's a lot of dispassion or spaciousness. Oh, it's just thoughts, just a worry, just a planning thought. It's just stuff. So there's a lot of that spaciousness. And we notice the quietness that comes from that non-attachment to thought, not identified so much with thought. Onto that spaciousness of dispassion, that ease. Oops, I'm going to mute everyone. Let's just see. For some reason, people's things are becoming unmuted. So I'm sorry about that. One of the things that you saw, I put in the chat a document. The links there aren't live, but if you click on that bottom link, you'll get all the live links to what I wanted to share with you, including something I think Steve Armstrong wrote, but from the Vipassana Metta Foundation, which is Steve Armstrong and Kamala Masters organization in Maui. And it's called the Paramis, the 10 spiritual practices of letting go. And I think it was Steve, and with maybe Kamala got involved too, but writing how each of the 10 paramis can be understood as a letting go. Like generosity is a letting go of stinginess, fear of not having enough. And moral sensitivity is this power to let go of my impulse to do something that might cause harm. Because I have this sensitivity, this valuing of non-harming, I can refrain from doing stuff that might hurt myself or hurt others, so I don't do it. Right? So it's a letting go of our programming, my tendencies, right? I can have the tendency to take something, but I can refrain from, I can let go of that tendency. And all the way through. So you can take a look how each one, it's really the essence of the path, this letting go. And we don't like that. I looked at an article that Pema Chodron wrote, and she made this joke, and it was an article, I think it's from her book, The Places That Scare Us, maybe a chapter on renunciation in that book. And she was talking about how in Buddhism, often people will get a spiritual name like renunciation, but in the Pali, or non-attachment. Like I know several Vivekanandas. So Ananda, the end of that word means bliss, and Viveka means non-attachment, gets translated in different ways, but that's one way you can translate Viveka. So the bliss of non-attachment. And but and Pema Chodron says this in the article, we often think of non-attachment as sort of bleak, and attachment is exciting. I'm attached, I'm excited by. So we have to look at, this is why renunciation is almost always taught in the context of the joy of renunciation. But initially, we don't sense the joy of renunciation. It scares us. But it's because we actually haven't pursued that theme, as the Buddha says. We have to notice the burden of our attachment to sense experience, and we need to notice the lightness of non-attachment, the fewness of wants. We have to actually see, even today or yesterday, there were probably a lot of moments we were content with what we had. But did we actually notice the absence of the burden of wanting more or wanting something different? It feels good not to need the moment to be different, not to need more. And just to start to pick up on that more subtle joy of non-attachment, of letting go, of renunciation. And this is a big part of the Buddhist teachings, in the Eightfold Path, when the Buddha is talking about wise intention intentions, mental intentions that are aligned with awakening, with freedom. Renunciation is the first of those wise or aligned intentions, followed by kindness and compassion, right? These are the only intentions we need in our heart. The intention to let go, the intention to care, right? To be kind, and to not cause harm, the intention to not harm, or compassion. That makes it really simple to be a human being, right? We only need 3 intentions. And this is something we can actually do. I really, these next 2 weeks when I talk about renunciation, really take it upon yourself to look already, just in your ordinary life, already we necessarily are practicing letting go all the time, especially if you're a parent, or you work with a bunch of people, whether it's nonprofit work or volunteer work rather, or at your work scene. Because when we're in community, we always have to adapt and adjust. We don't always get our way. We're always having to let go all the time. Oh, the weather's not the way I want it to be today. Well, I can either fight against something that I'm going to lose because I don't have any sway over weather yet. Soon I'll be psychic and I'll make it the way I want. But until then, the wise thing for me when the weather isn't the way I want it to be is to notice how wonderful it is to be able to let go. Yeah, I wanted it to be this way, but it's not. But the heart knows how to let go of that desire. And we're not so much letting go of the desire, we're letting go of this unwise identification with the desire. Like, I won't be happy unless this happens. So this is a confusing place in Buddhism because I've mentioned this before. And a lot of the text, there's a little bit of a sloppiness between what we generally call craving, which is desire with attachment, and desire. Desire arises in the heart and mind naturally. You can't be alive without desire arising in the heart and mind all the time. Desire itself is not a problem. Misunderstanding the desires that arise in our heart, that's where the problem starts. If I presume when I feel a desire, if I presume there's a me who's going to be happy if that desire comes to be, and therefore unhappy if it doesn't come to be, then all of a sudden I'm in trouble. There's somebody who can very easily get betrayed and and is entangled with sense experience. Because there's now, in my subjective experience, there's a personal stake in how things unfold because I'm attached to desire. I'm identified with it. It feels personal. So like sexual attraction, right, is a big part of being a human being. And so sexual attraction will naturally arise when we're human beings, for each of us in our own particular way, unique ways, and including not being attracted sexually to other humans, right? So there's probably an infinite number of ways that sexual attraction moves in our hearts, in our bodies. And so the Dharma question, the spiritual question is, when that desire gets activated, how do we relate to it? How do we understand it? What do we do with it? Do we build a personal story? And then we can notice, oh, when I build a personal story, when there's a personal identification and attachment, then I'm in that roller coaster of pain and pleasure. And it's stressful. Even when I'm at the pleasurable end of that spectrum, it's stressful because I don't know how long it's going to last, or I want it to be even better, and on and on. And this is true with everything, every aspect of sense experience, not just in terms of sexual attraction, around food, around power, around possession of objects, around collection of friends and relationships, around our body, everything. This is what the Buddha said. Whoever is addicted to society and worldly bustle, they will not partake of the happiness of renunciation, dispassion, peace, and enlightenment. And the Buddha talks about this in 3 ways. Like, so just in terms of these next few weeks, when we're highlighting this beautiful quality of renunciation, and in particular, the joy, the good feeling of renunciation. And that's looking at how the mind is entangled with alluring sights, sounds, sensations, tastes, and smells, right? So the mind's relationship with, let's call them external experience through the 5 senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and being alive and being sensitive in these 5 ways, right? Sometimes we're in the vicinity of pleasure, pleasurable sights, sounds, tastes, whatever. And then that's a perfect place to explore the allure. What is it when I, have this pleasant sound? What is gratification? What's the drawback of liking this nice sound? We were playing music yesterday, Win and I, listening to a lot of great oldies from our earlier years in our Pandora Joni Mitchell channel. And the thing about, like, when they play one of my favorites, it's like I notice, it's like I my mind immediately recognizes how much I like it and that it's going to end, and how probably just by statistics the next song won't be as pleasurable. And it's like right there, when I could be just enjoying the song, I'm realizing it's a setup. Anytime we personally, the heart is identified personally feeding off of a nice sense experience, on some level, whether we're conscious of it or not, on some level, we're suffering because the heart knows it's ephemeral and we can't count on it lasting. And so it undercuts even the pleasurable moments that the attachment does. Not the desire. It's fine to recognize that this is a song I really like, but to imagine, to become, because I imagine it, the person who's personally feeding on the pleasurableness of that song, right? Then there will be an equal and opposite. So in a way, like in the way the world is fundamentally structured, if I personally have a high, I have personally set emotional low. You don't get a high without a low in this, the nature of the world as it is. That's really what the Buddha is saying. So we're practicing to not be entangled with both the pleasurable and the unpleasant sense experience. And then the same with the inner world. So any of my thoughts I have about sense experience, right? Same thing. Because you know how it is. We can imagine a vacation, and how does the mind relate to that imagining? Or imagine a sexual encounter, or imagine eating food that you like, or imagining things going the way you want them to go at work, or imagining the world becoming a more just place where people are really taken care of. And if there's this personal attachment, like, if that, then I'll be happy, then I can relax, then we're in that roller coaster again, that stressful roller coaster. And there's even a 3rd level. So the first level is just our relationship to actual present moment experience through the senses. The 2nd level of renunciation is like in terms of whatever the thinking mind constructs, ideas, fantasies, imaginings. And then the 3rd is the most subtle level of renunciation, which is learning that there's a dependence on existence itself, you could say. And renouncing, even the way it's translated is the substrata of the mind, the heart's addiction to existence, to being somebody who has a life. Now, this is not the same as some nihilistic sense of, I don't want to have a life, right? Because that's just its own kind of addiction to not, like, I'm done with it. It's really neither being for nor against sense experience, neither for nor against existence. Existence will last as long as it lasts. Totally okay living, showing up, engaging, contributing. But I'm practicing, like with renunciation, we practice loosening the identification that, because this is like, we don't even think about this, even on a philosophical or intellectual level, giving up our attachment to even the most subtle substrata of identification with existence, right? When's the last time you spent an evening thinking, you know what, I'm really done with existence, but I'm not in a hurry, I'm totally fine, but when it goes, not going to look back. We don't think that way because we don't even know what that would be, non-existence, or neither for nor against existence. The mind not identified with sense experience. But this is the sort of most subtle aspect. But we just start with our ordinary addiction to sense experience, and then it's pretty easy step to notice how we're addicted, attached to our thoughts about our sense experiences. And then that really brings us to this sort of more fundamental or foundational view around our sense experience. This is another passage from the Buddha. Enraptured with lust, enraged with anger, blinded by delusion, overwhelmed with mind ensnared, a person aims at their own ruin, at the ruin of others, at the ruin of both, and they experience mental pain and grief. But if lust, anger, and delusion are given up, a person aims neither at their own ruin, or at the ruin of others, nor at the ruin of both, and they experience no mental pain and grief. Thus Nibbana, immediate. Thus is Nibbana immediate, visible in this life, inviting, attractive, comprehensible to the wise. And remember, the word Nibbana was an ordinary word at the time of the Buddha, used for something like a fire going out. If you had a cooking fire and it goes out, that's where the word Nibbana was used. So it has to do with the fires of this identification, this attachment going out. And this is why renunciation is such a central teaching in the Buddha's teachings, because it really points, it's like a different angle on what is a refuge and what is trustworthy. Because as an ordinary human being, animal, what we think is trustworthy is having a lot of safety, having a lot of food, having a lot of what we want in terms of sense experience. That's the basic definition of happiness and safety. And then through human culture, human life, we've seen the limitations of that pursuit, that ordinary, understandable animal pursuit of survival and having enough safety and enough shelter and enough food and enough social connections, etc. And we begin to explore a more trustworthy happiness, this happiness of non-attachment. And this is really the taste of freedom, the taste of Nibbana, this release of the heart, the the release of the heart's dependence on anything. And it's really important initially that we have a lot of humility around this. I'll just end by sharing a passage from Bhikkhu Bodhi. He's an American Buddhist monk. He's been a monk for decades. Really an amazing scholar, did a lot of the translations of the Pali texts, this ancient language that early Buddhism teachings are recorded in, into English. Really quite influential. He's quite old now, but still alive and doing some teaching. And he spent most of his monastic time in Sri Lanka, but he's back in the States now. And he wrote once, contemplating the dukkha, the unsatisfactoriness inherent in desire, or you could say attachment to desire, is one way to incline the mind to renunciation. Another way is to contemplate directly the benefits flowing from renunciation. To move from desire to renunciation is not, as might be imagined, to move from happiness to grief, from abundance to destitution. It is to pass from gross entangling pleasures to an exalted happiness and peace, from a condition of servitude to one of self-mastery. Attachment to desire ultimately breeds fear and sorrow, but renunciation gives fearlessness and joy. It promotes the accomplishment of all three stages of the threefold training. It purifies conduct, that's the moral sensitivity we've talked about. It aids in concentration or the stability of awareness, and it nourishes the seeds of wisdom. The entire course of practice from start to finish can in fact be seen as an evolving process of renunciation, culminating in nibbana or nirvana, as the ultimate stage of relinquishment, the relinquishment of all foundations of existence. And even intellectually, just to take away, like to imagine being a human being and the lives that each of us are living now with the responsibilities and duties that we have, like imagine how light, how free our living could be, our participation, our choosing, our navigating power structures and all that we have to navigate in our lives. Imagine how light and free that could be if the heart, deep, deep in the heart, there was no dependence on anything. See, then there would be complete fearlessness in my participation, how I connect with my wife. I wouldn't be neurotically manipulating things to sort of feed or take care of this hungry beast or lonely beast or whatever, because the development of the insight has removed the need, all the sort of tendency to be dependent or in need. Our happiness isn't a function of sense experience. So then our relationship to sense experience in the sense world, this world we live in, this world of relationships, it becomes one of love and generosity, not one of me manipulating things to get what I need. That's the vision. And I'll talk more about that in the weeks ahead. And now we have small groups, and one thing you can talk about is your own experience with renunciation, and just look around, those places in your life where you've needed to practice renunciation, and how that has gone. It'd be really great just to learn from each other about that. And maybe Eric and Ruth, who are here in the building, you could organize small groups for anybody who wants to stay. And people are invited to always stay. There's either Nancy Bowler or Shannon Gibney, two of our teachers at the center, who volunteer to organize these small groups. Take about 15 minutes. It's a really great way to meet people in the community and to give back. We really give a lot by willing to be in these small group conversations for the 15 minutes or so. Make sure to take the time to introduce yourself and really hold that 15 minutes as a sacred space where we get to be real with each other and kind of hold what people say in confidence after that small group is over. So I hope to see you next Sunday as we continue looking at renunciation, and wishing everybody a good week.